right, my loves, let's talk ghosting. Ew. Like, if you're doing that, just stop, please, and save this and come back to it. Or if you've had it done to you, come back to this, because I'm going to talk about why it happens, what we can do about it, how we can heal about it, and break things down a little bit. But if you are new to my world, what's up? My name is Laura Patricia Martin. I am a trauma and relationship specialist, and I break all of these clinical things down so that you can understand them. The biggest mission here is that we shift generational relationship loops. So if you're anyone that you see patterns and you're attracting unavailability and you're having these cycles within your relationship sphere, and you can see how that's patterned throughout your lifetime, your parents' lifetime, your grandparents' lifetime, and you really want to shift that for future generations to come, that's what we do here. So I'm very excited. Let me know in the comments that you're new here and what you're looking to gain. I really like it. Hello, Andrea. I like to get to know you guys. This is like a little conversation. I like to come on here at least once a week with What Would Laura Do? And I just recorded a podcast this morning, which y'all, I don't know what's happening, but also thank you so much. In the last week and a half, our downloads have doubled on our podcast, and I would like to act like I'm not surprised, but also like, obviously, but thank you. Like, that's amazing. And I was recording a podcast about modern dating and communication and vulnerability, and ghosting was a big part of it. So that's coming out on Monday, but I wanted to come here and talk about that because this is a big fucking thing. So much so that Plenty of Fish said 78% of us have either done it or had it done to us, which is fucking bananas. Like, I was thinking about this in the shower, and I know this is rude, but it's like, who raised you? Because it's one of these things where it's like, we're no longer, and I mean that in a nice way, because it's like, we are raised from a generation of don't talk about it. I love that you just subscribed. Yes, it's such a vibe. We don't talk about our feelings. We don't talk about our emotions. And, you know, it's this whole thing of like, be seen but not heard. Like, that's how I was raised. And I know that's how a lot of y'all have been raised. And that's why it's being perpetuated in this cycle. And, you know, modern dating is just like, you know, connection is a swipe away, and yet meaningful connections are elusive. And I know that hits deep, and that's literally why I created Alchemy of Love, which is now open for enrollment, and everyone needs to get their butt inside of it. It is a somatic-based program that is, you know, we know so much about relationships. I think, you know, we're kind of over-consuming, but we're not actually doing anything about our subconscious programming and nervous system. And I got super nerdy with the neuroscience and the psychology and the somatic attachment therapy and the feminine and masculine energetics inside of this. And that program is literally everything that shifted me from leaving domestic violence and addictions and self-abandonment and questioning my worth in relationships and choosing men that would cheat on me, to then stepping into this power where it's like, I'm either the one that I got away. Like, that is the fucking vibe, and I'm walking you through this. So if you've been calling in these relationships that aren't what you want, or you're in a relationship and it's not at the depth that you're desiring, this is your friggin' 4-week program. We're going to be starting this in June. There's more information on the live that I did yesterday on that, so I will talk about that later, but just wanted to give you the invite. Right now it's on early bird, so right now it's $777. There are 3-month and 6-month payment plans available. It's a fucking vibe. So let's talk about ghosting. Why the fuck does it happen? It's honestly because we don't know how to have hard conversations, and yet we're craving this depth. I've personally, since I've stepped into this space of consciousness, since I've stepped into being an adult and dating in an adult way, I have never experienced that, and I have never done it. Because even people that if I'm talking to on Bumble and I choose to not continue or not to see you, I will explain. Because here's the way this works. I know how it would feel on the receiving end if someone just stops responding to you. I know how it feels on the receiving end, you know, if someone just disappears, because of when I was in toxic relationships and things like that. So why are we perpetuating the cycle? Because we don't know how to have hard conversations. And so I break this down a lot in this upcoming podcast, but I want to just emphasize it here, because the way that the thing that's happening is we are now modeling poor behavior. This is the biggest thing that I see in modern dating right now. And is this microphone clear? Let me know. I'm trying a new way here. But what the biggest thing that I see in modern dating is we don't know how to have this staying power in conscious relationships. And there's no shortage of, you know, you hear me say this all the time. There's no shortage of dating. You have thousands of people at your fingertips to swipe and to learn and to do all these kind of things. It's a shortage of vulnerability. It's the shortage of staying power when things are hard. It's a shortage of, and why is this, right? It's because we don't know ourselves. We've lived in this COVID model for a really long time around a lot of people became self-aware. And that's a good thing to an extent, where we're so now aware of ourselves and we're so understanding of ourselves. But sometimes that can have a negative twist where now we want to be validated by someone else and we're seeking our approval in someone else, and we're missing the point of our own self-respect. And so when people are getting scared and people are fearing vulnerability, and someone sees a shadow, or someone's it gets too deep, or someone sees something in us, which is what relationships are, they're mirrors, we want to just run away because it's like, and so instead of doing the thing where it's like, hey, I just don't feel like this is a good fit, and I really value our time and I value the time spent, and this is what I learned, but this is what I'm looking for, and like I really do wish you the best. Silence. And so we're passing trauma around, and we're modeling this poor behavior of protection or we're mirroring this poor behavior of protection instead of modeling what we want in the world, because it's hard. Just because something is common does not mean we should be doing it. And I get it, it's easier. It's vulnerable to say, this isn't a fit. It's vulnerable to say, why? Because sometimes we don't know why. And this is the thing that happens, especially if you've been dating for like a month or two, where it's like someone might fight you on that, where it's like, you'll be like, oh, my values, what do you mean? This is what I want too. And they'll start to kind of push back at you. And so you just want to avoid that whole thing where you're like, we'll just slowly fade out. That's not a closed loop. And if you're trying to actually call in the love story of the ages that I know that you are, you have to be bold in what you want. You have to know what you want, and you have to be able to communicate that effectively and leave things instead of looking to be chosen, because now we're so self-aware that we think we're too broken to be loved, and we're just like, anyone just love me, and what is it? And so if we're forcing a love after that, like someone ghosts us and we're chasing it, that's the thing that I also want to talk about too, where it's like if we're forcing a love after something, that's the wound of you don't actually love yourself enough yet. Because if someone ghosted you, yes, it hurts, and it's the human experience because that's our rejection and our abandonment wounds. But it's also the check engine light that it wasn't a match. Because someone that loves you would never do that. Someone that was worthy of your time would never do that. And so it's really checking in with your body of like, where are we reacting from this state right now? Of chasing, of forcing, of trying to prove our value, like really getting to this place. And that's what the Amor Alchemist is getting to this place of no longer needing to prove your value to anyone, because you know yourself so well. And you know yourself so well that you're not ghosting either. And this is the biggest thing, is like, and I see this a lot. We hate getting ghosted, and yet we do it. Oh, we went on one date, so I don't really have to explain myself. Did you just put your time above someone else's? Time is the one thing that we cannot get back. The time texting, the time swiping, the time at the coffee or the whatever. Their time is just as valuable as yours. And so it doesn't mean you have to have this whole conversation, you have to do it in person, and you have to sit down as though it's a breakup. But you can either do it in the moment if you're feeling bold, that you just don't feel it's a match, and like maybe you'll be good friends or whatever, but wish them the best. Or you can shoot a text. But leading someone to believe something that had to spend time with you because you don't want to have a conversation because that feels vulnerable, that is your check engine light. And I cannot emphasize this as much, that this is your biggest check engine light to the block of why you're calling in unavailable relationships, because you can't sit with that vulnerability, with the honesty. And that's such a beautiful gift to be able to sit and like see where that's your block, because now you know where to go. Now you know what to lean into. Is this making sense? I know it is, because I've been studying this whole day. But it's literally one of these things where we're not realizing the emotional impact all of this has on people. And yet, we take the easy way in life. And in relationship, we think there's like an easy button or an Amazon Prime button for this to work. But if you're finding yourself where it's like, oh, I'm just going to, it's okay, it'll fizzle out. It wasn't that hot, so I'm going to fizzle out. Instead of doing the bold thing of honoring someone else's time and saying, I really had a lot of fun and I valued our time together, but I just don't feel like this is a match. And I really do hope that you figure things out, especially if you were intimate with them, you swap DNA with them, like, have a conversation. And so the things underneath that, right, is the fear of vulnerability. We don't want to be vulnerable. We don't want to be mean. We don't want the backlash. But if you're so confident in who you are, yeah, you can't control another person and you can't control what the reaction is going to be, and they might fight back, they might not agree with you, but at least you gave them an answer. Because the truth is, if we're ghosting people, we're passing trauma. And the truth is, when we're not telling people, like, we are going to make up narratives as to why we're not worthy or why we weren't good enough. And this is how we're building up these walls and creating these gaps within the relational space. And so it really comes down to having effective communication strategies, which I teach inside of Clarity, which you can get if you join our membership. Having emotional resiliency and understanding yourself and spending the time. And so if you've been through being ghosted, like right now you're sitting in this space, let me grab a drink of water. You're sitting in this space and you've been ghosted. What can you do? Right? Like, you're like, okay, I'm cleaning up my side of the street. I'm never going to do this to someone because I take personal responsibility that this fucking sucks. And so what do you do now? Where is the attachment from that coming up for you? And what do I mean by that? When we get ghosted, there's usually a wound that got ripped out. Rejection, abandonment, belonging, safety, trust. All normal. We all have them. Even me in this field, like if something happens in a relationship, I'm like, and I gotta crumble for like 2 weeks, and then I'm like, we're back. We just forgot for a second. Oops. Like, we all have them. We're all human. We all are just little girls running around in these fucking human meat suits trying to figure it the fuck out. Like, when we get ghosted and we're trying to like remind them of our worth and we're wondering what they're doing and our obsessive thoughts come in, and that's normal. I just really want to neutralize that. Like, it's fucking normal. A really helpful thing is to ask better questions. What did this highlight in me? What is this bringing up for me? What void was just created that I wasn't aware that I had? And how do I want to fill that void? And the thing that hurts the most is when you are in relationship with this person and that happens. A lot. That's where somatics come in. That's where I highly recommend you booking a session. Like, get into alchemy of love. Like, that stuff. I mean, it sucks at any angle, but that really sucks. And I mean a different thing, because I used to do this thing where I'm like, they ghosted me. My best friend's like, no, you guys broke up. That's not ghosting. Like, they're just not talking to you anymore. And I'm like, what do you mean? Right? They obsessed with me and chasing me. There's a difference in that. Like, if there is actually a conversation that had and they just, it ended, obviously that's not ghosting. But if it was something that fizzled out, it's really looking at letting the human be a human. Like, you get to be upset about things, you get to have that moment, and then it gets to this space where it's like, what in me attracted that? Because we're a mirror for every single thing in our life. And so I know when this has happened with my clients, it's the worthiness wound often. And when we can start to actually unravel that, and we can alchemize love in their body, and we can really fill this void that they thought a relationship would do, and then coming from love and coming to relationship from a place of wholeness, the dynamics start to change. Like I said, in my journey, that's what happened. I can't say that I've been ghosted since being in, I don't know, the 3 years of dating that I've been in. That might be activating to hear, but it's not the energy of where I'm at, because I close my loops. I close it with friends. I close it with money. Even if I'm not, if I'm talking to a mentor about buying a program and I ask for the link, I close that loop. If I don't, your no is so powerful. And so it's closing the loops in your life. It's closing the loops in relationships. It's closing the conversations that you're having on Bumble. It's closing the loops so that you have more space, because the more things that you keep open and ambiguous, which I know, the thing about ghosting as well is they kind of keep it open, or you kind of keep it open, because maybe I'll get back to it. And so I don't want to fully close the loop. If you're maybe keeping things open, you can't fully commit to anything next. And so it's not that you have to go back and you have to message everyone that you've ever ghosted or anything like that. It's doing that moving forward. You can't know better until you can't do better until you know better, and now you know better, so now you do better. Right? And so as you're moving forward and you're going and you're dating and you're seeing these things, it's don't pass the trauma around, and really start to look at, okay, so if I just got ghosted, what am I making this mean about me? What are you making this mean about you? How can you start to shift that narrative to understanding that it's not your job to show someone your value. It's your job to know your value. It's I was reading something and they mentioned this. I think it was 8 Rules of Love. Jay Shetty, something like that, where it was if someone throws a diamond in the trash, you wouldn't wonder what's wrong with the diamond. You'd wonder what's wrong with that person. Why are you throwing diamonds in the trash? It's the same with people that ghost you. It's a reflection of their blocks, of their lack of communication, of their knowing themselves, of their personal power. That means absolutely nothing about you. Absolutely nothing. Hold that. I want you to feel that in your heart. Nothing about you. Yes, you can look at it, and like I said, it's this thing where it's what did I attract from that? What am I learning, and what do I get to grow from this, and how does this get to be expansive, and what do I get to strip away that is no longer serving me, because that was my check engine light. But that is a power move, not a something's wrong with me, let me fix it so that I can be chosen move. A lot of us are thinking love and relationship is this thing that we have to earn and achieve and do and da-da-da. That isn't, you're not a fucking dance monkey. The thing that is so rare and valuable nowadays in modern dating is a woman that knows herself so well and holds the standard and the integrity of her life. It's intimidating to a lot of people because it requires the masculine to rise to meet you. Something one of my friends said to me before was, you're like ecstasy. If you've ever taken too much drugs, you blame the drug, or the drug just highlighted the shadows that you weren't willing to sit with. You're all fucking ecstasy. If someone ghosts and says whatever the fuck narrative they want to fucking say, a narrative that you make up in your head, so be it. Your work is to get to know you, to understand that they just threw a diamond in the trash. What's wrong with them? And the way that they want to handle it, you're not their mother. You don't have to tell them anything. Your silence is fucking golden. And then you grow. Right? I have the tattoo on my arm. If not this, something better, you grow. But don't perpetuate this cycle. Don't just, well, it was only one date, or, it's only a little thing, or, I'm just going to let it fade out. I'm going to go do this thing, and then, it'll just fade out naturally. Be an adult. That shit sucks, because that person is going to make up a narrative inside their head, and then they're going to build up walls, and then honestly, dating nowadays, the modern dating crisis is the lack of vulnerability and this fear of all of it. Don't perpetuate the cycle by doing that shit. Honor yourself. Close your loops. Give someone the answers, seek within you. Give them an answer, the best of your abilities. And leave in love. Even if it was this little tiny thing. Even if it was one date. I do this even if it was just a conversation and we said we'd go on a date, and actually the closer to the date I get, I'm like, my body is just not on board with this, and it does not feel like success to me. I'm a projector, so if it's bitterness or success, this just does not feel like success to me. I wouldn't explain it in that way because that sounds weird, but I would just be like, what did I even say? I was like, it's not a yes for me right now, and I don't want to waste either of our time, but I really respect the conversations that we had over this week or so, but I'm seeing that I'm just not in the mood, aligned for this right now, but thank you so much, and I wish you the best. Done. Respect is given. Don't keep things open just because maybe if. Be an adult, and honor someone's time, even if it was one date, even if it was even if it was a week, a month, or whatever, don't just let it fizzle out and ghost someone. Don't pass trauma. We live in such a we are afraid of someone seeing our shit era. Thank you, COVID, and the self-awareness that has happened, and the awareness that we have of all the things that are wrong with us. We live in this stage that now we don't want to let people in, and now we're just passing along these wounds, and we're mirroring this shitty fucking behavior instead of modeling what we want. Lead the way in this. Because when you do that, when you have a conversation with someone, it models to them something new, and then they're like, oh, that's an option. That feels good. I'm going to do that next. And so that's my riff on this. Share it with someone. Save it with someone. Take the daily dose of medicine around ghosting. I'm sure I'm going to have so many more things on this. It was quite miscombobulated, but we're here. The podcast is going to be out on Monday. All around, let me get the actual title. Navigating Modern Dating Challenges, Ghosting, Communication, and Vulnerability. It's so good. It's so good. So go check that out. I love you all that have downloaded and subscribed and doubled our downloads in a week and a half. That's wild to me. And also, obviously, and so go check that out. Search Healing to Happy. You'll find it in the bio, actually. And then if you want to take this a step further, Alchemy of Love. Alchemy of Love, Alchemy of Love, Alchemy of Love. This is the 4-week somatic-based program to help you call in the emotionally available, the high-value relationships, and create and cultivate these lasting love that I know you're deeply seeking. This penetrative love, this honest love, this feminine love, this being raptured and expressing yourself and being fully accepted and being seen and being understood and being heard. I'm walking you through all of that. And it's not just this watch this 1-hour training and da-da-da-da-da, and therefore you should be shifted. No, it is your daily dose of vitamins that you need to actually subconsciously reprogram your neurotransmitters so you can have the love you want. Because it's not just about watching something for 30 minutes or however long I've been going here. It is about truly shifting what's happening underneath. And so that's what we're doing here. It's unlike anything I've ever seen. So it's on early bird, $777. Painful, cheapest option. We have 3-month, we have 6-month payment plans. You can upgrade to a one-on-one session with me. We have a private community where you get to connect with all the fabulous women that are in it. You get lifetime access, so you get the upgrades to it since you are joining, and you get a bonus. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but you get a bonus for signing up for early bird. So jump in. The price will be going to $1,111. We're going to be starting in June. And it's all about becoming the Amore Alchemist. You can go check my previous live. It's me with a hat. All about it and the beauty of what it is. And you'll see my stories and all this stuff. But I love you. Share this with a friend. You're sexy. You're cute. You're lovable. Stop fucking ghosting people. Be an adult. Have conversations that are hard. It is an art form, but it will change the world. The world. Be the change we want to see in the world. We've all seen that, you know? Okay, bye. I love you.